The war room was silent. Queen Vela stood alone before the great map, a floating image of light that showed every world her people still held. Once, this map had stretched across half the galaxy. Now, it showed only 7 small dots of blue surrounded by endless red. The red was the Merak swarm. Vela was tall and graceful. Like all Allori, her skin was pale as moonlight, and her eyes shone silver in the dim room. She had ruled for 200 cycles. She had seen her empire grow strong. She had watched it begin to die. The doors behind her opened. She did not turn around. "My queen," said Commander Ryan. His voice was tired. It was always tired now. "The Fourth Fleet has fallen. The Marak took the Wayne system 3 hours ago." Vela closed her eyes. The Wayne system. 12 billion Allori had lived there. Families, children, artists and farmers and dreamers. All of them were gone now, swallowed by the endless hunger of the swarm. "How many ships escaped?" she asked. 47, Ryan answered. "Out of 3,000. She finally turned to look at him. Ryan was old for a soldier. Deep scars marked his face, gifts from battles fought long ago when victory still seemed possible. His silver eyes, once bright with hope, now held only shadows. "The council wishes to speak with you," he said. "I know what they wish to say. They say it anyway. My queen." Every day, louder than before. Vela walked past him, her long robes trailing on the crystal floor. The palace of her ancestors rose around her, beautiful and ancient. Light danced through walls of living crystal. Gardens floated in the air, filled with flowers that sang soft melodies. This place had stood for 10,000 cycles. Soon, it would be dust. The council chamber was full when she arrived. 20 Allori sat around a curved table, their faces drawn with fear and exhaustion. They rose when she entered, then sat when she took her throne. Elder Sura spoke first. She was the oldest among them, her silver hair falling past her shoulders like water. "My queen, we must discuss the evacuation." "There is nowhere to evacuate to," Vela replied. "The Outer Rim," said another voice. General Tovan, young and desperate. "The Marak have not reached there yet. We could take our ships, our people, and flee beyond their reach." "The Marak do not stop," Ryan said. He stood beside the queen, arms folded. "They do not rest. They do not negotiate. They consume everything in their path. Running only delays the end." "Then we surrender," Elder Sura said. The words hung in the air like poison. "Perhaps they will show mercy. Perhaps they will spare our children." Vela felt something cold move through her chest. Mercy. She had studied the Merak for 50 cycles. She had watched them devour 100 worlds. The Merak did not understand mercy. They were a hive mind, billions of creatures sharing one terrible thought: hunger. They ate planets the way fire ate wood. There was no reasoning with fire. "Surrender means death," Vela said. "Slow death instead of fast death, but death all the same." "Then what do you suggest?" General Tovan demanded. His voice cracked with frustration. "We cannot fight. We cannot run. We cannot surrender. What option remains?" Vela had no answer. She sat in silence while the council argued around her. Their voices rose and fell like waves, washing over her without meaning. She thought of her mother, the queen before her, who had died believing the empire would last forever. She thought of her daughter, young Lyra, asleep in the palace nursery, unaware that her future was burning. What could she tell them? That hope was gone? That every choice led to the same dark end? The meeting ended without resolution. It always did now. The council filed out, their shoulders bent with despair. Only Ryan remained. "You should rest, my queen," he said. "Rest?" She almost laughed. "I have forgotten what rest feels like." She walked to the great window that overlooked the city below. Millions of Allori lived there, going about their lives, trying to pretend that the end was not coming. Ships flew between tall towers. Children played in floating gardens. Somewhere, someone was falling in love. Somewhere, someone was being born. All of it would be gone soon. The Marak were 3 systems away. They would arrive within 1 cycle, maybe 2. And when they came, nothing would stop them. "Ryan," she said softly, "do you believe in miracles?" The old commander was quiet for a long moment. "I believe in soldiers, my queen. I believe in duty and sacrifice and fighting until the last breath. But miracles?" He shook his head. "Miracles are for stories." Vela pressed her hand against the cold glass. The stars above were beautiful tonight. Her ancestors had sailed between those stars, building an empire that stretched across the darkness. They had believed themselves eternal. They had been wrong. That night, as Vela finally lay down to sleep, a light streaked across the sky. Most who saw it thought it was a falling star, a small piece of cosmic debris burning in the atmosphere. They made wishes on it, as Allori had done for thousands of cycles. But it was not a star, God, it was a ship, small and crude and damaged, spinning out of control as it fell toward the northern mountains. Inside that ship, barely alive, was a creature from a world no Allori had ever heard of. His name was Han Te-Wudad, and he was about to change everything. Kira was young for a healer. She had seen only 30 cycles, barely an adult by Allori standards. But she was gifted with the healing touch, and so she served at the Northern Temple. Far from the war and the fear that gripped the cities. That night, she was walking through the mountain gardens when the sky caught fire. The object fell like a wounded bird, trailing smoke and flame. It crashed into the valley below with a sound like thunder. Kira stood frozen, watching the glow of the impact fade into darkness. She should have called for help. She should have waited for soldiers to investigate. But something pulled her forward, a feeling she could not explain. She ran down the mountain path, her healer's robes flying behind her. The crash site was a mess of broken trees and scattered metal. The ship, if it could be called that, was small and ugly. It was made of dull gray metal, covered in strange symbols. Nothing like the graceful crystal vessels of the Allori. This thing looked like it had been built by children playing with rocks. Kira approached carefully. The ship was cracked open like an egg. Inside, she saw something that made her heart stop. A creature lay among the wreckage. It had 2 arms and 2 legs, like an Allori, but everything else was wrong. Its skin was a strange tan color. Its hair was black and short. Its eyes were closed, but she could see they were shaped differently than hers. It was breathing. Barely. Kira reached out with her mind, trying to sense its thoughts. This was natural for Allori. They could feel each other's emotions, share memories, speak without words. But when she touched this creature's mind, she felt nothing. It was like reaching into empty space. The creature groaned. Its eyes opened. They were dark brown, almost black. They looked at her with confusion and pain and something else. Something sharp and calculating, even in this broken state. "Help," it said. The word came from a small device on its chest, translating its strange language into sounds she could understand. "Please." Kira made her choice. She healed what she could and called for help. By morning, soldiers had arrived. They put the creature in chains and carried it to the capital. Queen Vela stood in the throne room as they brought the stranger before her. The entire court had gathered, whispering in fear and wonder. Nothing like this had ever happened in Allori history. A creature from beyond the stars, from a world they had never known existed. The creature stood tall despite its injuries. It was wearing strange clothes, torn and burned from the crash. Its eyes moved constantly, looking at everything. The guards, The exits. The weapons. Vela noticed this. Even in chains, this creature was studying its cage. "What are you?" she asked. The device on its chest crackled. "My name is Han Tae-woo," it said. "I am human. I come from a planet called Earth." "We have no record of this Earth," Commander Ryan said. He stood beside the Queen, his hand on his weapon. "How did you come here?" "Wormhole," Tae-woo said. "Unstable. My ship was pulled through. I do not know how far I traveled. Many light years, I think." "Our telepaths cannot read your mind," Vela said. "Why?" Tae-woo seemed confused. "I do not know. Humans do not have telepathy. Maybe that is why." The court whispered louder. "A creature immune to telepathy. Some called it a demon. Others called it a sign of doom." Elder Sura stepped forward, her old face twisted with fear. "Kill it," she said. "It is an omen of death. The Marak will come and this creature appears. It is not chance. It is a curse." Tae-woo watched them argue about his fate. His face showed no fear. Vela found this strange. Any Alori in his position would be terrified. But this human simply waited, his dark eyes calm and steady. "What do you want?" she asked him directly. "To live," he answered. "To find a way home. I am not your enemy. I did not come here to hurt you. You crashed on our world during our darkest hour. You expect us to believe this is coincidence?" "I do not expect anything," Tae-woo said. "But I am telling the truth. I am just a man, an engineer. I was exploring space when the wormhole took me. I have no army. I have no weapons. I only have myself." Ryan leaned close to the Queen. "He could be a spy for the Marak." Vela shook her head. "The Marak do not use spies. They do not need them. They simply destroy." She studied the human again. "You say you are an engineer. What did you build?" "Ships, weapons, machines. On my world, I designed systems for war." The court fell silent. War. This creature knew war. Vela rose from her throne. She walked down the steps until she stood before him, close enough to touch. He was shorter than her, broader in the shoulders. He smelled of smoke and blood, but his eyes met hers without flinching. "We are dying," she said quietly. "Our empire is falling. An enemy we cannot defeat is coming to swallow our worlds. Do you understand this?" "I saw your war maps when they brought me through the palace," Tae-woo said. "I understand, and yet you show no fear." He almost smiled. "Fear is useless. It does not solve problems. If I am going to die, I would rather die thinking than die screaming." Vela felt something stir in her chest. It was small and fragile, something she had not felt in many cycles. Hope. "Take him to the holding chambers," she ordered. "Give him food and medical care. Do not kill him." The court erupted in protests, but she silenced them with a raised hand. "This creature may be nothing," she said. "Or it may be something we desperately need. Until I know which, he lives." She turned and walked away, leaving Han Tae-woo standing in chains, watching her go. He was still not afraid. 3 days passed. Tae-woo sat in his cell, eating the strange food they brought him and healing from his wounds. Kira visited often. She was curious about him in a way the others were not. They feared him. She wanted to understand him. "Your world," she asked one evening. "What is it like?" Tae-woo thought for a moment. "Blue and green. Oceans and forests. Mountains and deserts. We have one sun and one moon. Billions of people live there." "Billions?" Kira's silver eyes widened. "So many." "Yes, and we have fought many wars. Against each other, against nature, against everything. Humans are very good at surviving. But you have never faced the Marak. No, we have never faced anything like them. He paused. Tell me about them. The mark. Kira's face grew dark. She sat on the floor outside his cell, her hands folded in her lap. They are a swarm. Millions of creatures, all connected to one mind. They do not think like us. They do not feel like us. They only hunger. They land on a world and they eat everything. Plants, animals, people. They strip planets down to bare rock and move on. How do your people fight them? We meet them in space. Fleet against fleet. But there are always more of them. When we destroy 1,000, 10,000 more come. When we destroy 1,000,000, 10 million more arrive. It never ends. Tae-woo was quiet for a long time. Then he asked a strange question. Do they feel pain? We believe so. When we kill them, they react. But the swarm does not care about individual deaths. The hive mind sacrifices millions without hesitation. And do they ever retreat? When they are losing a battle, do they run away? Kira shook her head. Never. They push forward until they win or until every single one is dead. They do not know fear. Tae-woo nodded slowly. He looked like a man solving a puzzle, putting pieces together in his mind. Bring me your war reports, he said. Everything from the last 10 cycles. Battles, strategies, outcomes. I want to see it all. I cannot do that. You are a prisoner. Then ask your queen. Tell her I might be able to help. Kira hesitated, but something in his voice made her believe him. She went to the palace that night and requested an audience with Queen Velida the next morning. Guards came to Tae-woo's cell. They removed his chains and led him to a room filled with floating screens. War reports stretched across the walls. Maps, numbers, images of destruction. Commander Ryan stood waiting, his arms crossed. The Queen has granted your request, Ryan said coldly. But I will be watching you. If you try anything, I will kill you myself. Tae-woo ignored the threat. He walked to the nearest screen and began to read. For hours, he studied in silence. He asked questions sometimes. How fast were Marek ships? How did they communicate? What weapons did they use? Ryan answered grudgingly, his distrust clear in every word. Finally, as the sun set outside, Tae-woo spoke. I see the problem. Oh? Ryan's voice was mocking. Please, tell us what we are doing wrong. We have only been fighting this war for 300 cycles. You fight like you expect to win, Tae-woo said simply. You line up your fleets. You meet them in open battle. You try to overwhelm them with superior skill and technology. But you cannot win that way. Not against an enemy that outnumbers you 1,000 to 1. Then how should we fight? Tae-woo turned to face him. On my world, we have a saying. If you cannot beat your enemy with strength, beat them with cunning. You do not meet the strong where they are strong. You meet them where they are weak. The Marek have no weaknesses. Everything has weaknesses. You just have not looked for them. Tae-woo pointed at the map. You protect your populated worlds. Good. But you also try to hold your empty systems, your outer territories. Why? Because they are ours. They are rocks and gas and empty space. They have no value. Let the Marek have them. Pull your fleets back. Make them chase you. His eyes were bright now, alive with ideas. And while they chase, you hit them from behind. You set traps. You blow up their supply lines. You make every step they take cost them dearly. Ryan stared at him. That is cowardice. That is survival. Tae-woo stepped closer. On my world, my people were not always strong. Long ago, we were prey. Everything hunted us. Bigger animals. Faster animals. Smarter animals. We should have died. But we did not. Do you know why? Ryan said nothing. Because we learned to think. We learned to plan. We learned that running today can mean winning tomorrow. We did not become the rulers of our world by fighting fair. We became rulers by refusing to give up, no matter how many times we fell. The room was silent. Ryan's face was unreadable, but his hand had fallen away from his weapon. 3 days later, the Marak attacked the fourth moon. 60,000 Allori died in a single night. The council panicked. Elder Sura demanded immediate surrender. General Tovan called for a final desperate charge. Queen Vila silenced them all. "Bring me the human," she said. When Tewu stood before her, she did not sit on her throne. She stood facing him, her silver eyes burning with something new. "You said you could help. Prove it." Tewu nodded. "Give me access to your weapon systems, your fleet communications, your engineers. Give me 1 month. If my ideas do not work, you can execute me yourself." Vela extended her hand. Tewu took it. 1 month, she said. The alliance had begun. Tewu did not sleep for 7 days. He worked in a room deep beneath the palace, surrounded by Allori engineers who watched him with a mix of fear and fascination. Kira stayed by his side, translating when his device failed, bringing him food he forgot to eat. "You will kill yourself," she told him one night. "Your body needs rest." "Rest later," he muttered, his fingers flying across the control panels. Win first. His first creation was simple. He took the communication signals of Allori colony worlds and programmed them into small machines. These machines could be placed anywhere in space. When activated, they would send out signals that made them look like populated planets. "Decoys," he explained to Commander Ryan. "The Marak hunt by detecting life signs. These machines will give them false targets. They will waste time attacking empty space while your real worlds stay hidden." Ryan frowned. Deception. Lies. Yes, lies save lives. His second creation was more violent. He redesigned the power cores of broken Allori ships, turning them into massive bombs. These bombs were placed inside asteroids, hidden among the rocks that drifted through space. When Marak fleets passed nearby, the bombs would explode, destroying hundreds of enemy ships at once. Mines, Tewu called them. They do not care how many enemies come. They kill whatever touches them. The Allori engineers were horrified. "This is not honorable," one of them said. "True warriors face their enemies openly." Tewu stopped working. He turned to look at the engineer, a young male with silver eyes full of pride. "What is your name?" "Darin." "Darin, do you have family?" The engineer hesitated. "A sister and 2 nieces." "Where are they?" "On the 3rd moon. Safe, for now." Tewu nodded. "The Marak do not care about honor. When they come for your sister, they will not offer her a fair fight. They will swarm over her world like locusts. They will eat her alive while she screams. Her daughters will watch before they die too." He stepped closer. "Now tell me again about honor." Doran said nothing. He went back to work. The 3rd week, Tewu began training soldiers. This was the hardest part. Allori warriors were trained from birth to fight in formation, to move as one, to follow ancient patterns of combat that had served them for thousands of cycles. Tewu threw all of it away. "Forget your formations," he told them. "Forget everything you learned. The Marak expect you to fight in straight lines, so you will not. You will scatter. You will hide. You will attack from directions they do not expect. And when they turn to face you, you will already be gone." Commander Ryan watched from the side. His face was dark with conflict. Everything this human taught went against a lifetime of training. But the old commander was not stupid. He could see the logic behind the madness. "Hit and run," Ryan said quietly. "Strike and vanish." "Yes," Tewu nodded. "You are learning. It feels wrong. It will keep your soldiers alive." "Is that not what matters?" One evening, Kira found Taewoo sitting alone on a balcony, looking up at the stars. She sat beside him, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. "May I ask you something?" she said. Yes. "Why do you help us? We are not your people. This is not your war. You could ask for a ship and try to find your way home." Taewoo was quiet for a long moment. The stars reflected in his dark eyes, small points of light in an endless darkness. "On my world," he said slowly, "we have a belief. When you see someone suffering and you can help, you must help. It does not matter if they are strangers. It does not matter if it is difficult. Turning away from suffering is a kind of death. A death of the soul, but you might die here. You might never see your home again. I know." He smiled, but it was a sad smile. "I think about Earth every day. My mother, my friends, the smell of rain in the spring. But if I ran away now, if I let your people die when I could have helped, I would not deserve to go home. I would not deserve to call myself human." Kira felt something warm spread through her chest. She did not understand this creature, but she was beginning to admire him. 3 weeks after Taewoo began his work, the first counterattack launched. A Merak fleet of 5,000 ships approached the Varus system, expecting easy prey. Instead, they found nothing. The decoy signals had led them into empty space. And while they searched in confusion, 300 Ilori ships appeared behind them. The Ilori did not form lines. They did not charge head-on. They split into small groups and struck from every direction at once. Merak ships exploded by the dozens, by the hundreds. And when the swarm finally turned to fight back, the Ilori were already gone, vanished into the asteroid field where the mines waited. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, 2,000 Merak ships were destroyed. The Ilori lost 40-7. Queen Vila received the report in her throne room. Her hand shook as she read the numbers. 47 lost. 2,000 destroyed. It was impossible. It was a miracle. She summoned Taewoo immediately. When he arrived, exhausted and covered in grease from the engineering bay, she did something she had never done before. She bowed to him, a small bow, but real. "You have given us hope," she said. Taewoo shook his head. "This is only the beginning. The Merak will adapt. They will learn from this defeat. We must stay ahead of them. We must keep changing, keep surprising them. The moment we stop thinking, we die. Then we will not stop thinking," Vela said. "I will give you everything you need. Ships, soldiers, resources. Whatever you ask, it is yours." Taewoo looked at her with those strange dark eyes. "I ask only one thing. Name it. Trust me, even when my ideas seem insane. Even when your generals disagree. Trust that I am fighting for your survival as hard as I would fight for my own." Vila clasped his hand. It was a human gesture. He had taught it to her. "I trust you," she said. And for the first time in 300 cycles, the Ilori began to believe they might survive. 6 months passed. The war changed. Taewoo's tactics spread across the Ilori fleet. Commanders who had once dismissed him now studied his strategies like holy texts. Soldiers who had called him a coward now called him a genius. The Merak still advanced, but slowly, painfully, bleeding ships at every step. But Taewoo knew it was not enough. He sat in the war room with Queen Vela and Commander Rion, staring at the great map. The Merak had lost millions of ships, but millions more remained. And at the center of their territory, hidden in a cloud of dark matter, lay the central hive, the heart of the swarm. The place where the Merak queen lived, sending her thoughts out to control every creature in her empire. "We can slow them," Taewoo said. "We can hurt them, but we cannot defeat them. Not like this. Not unless we strike the source." Ryan shook his head. The central hive is surrounded by 1 billion ships. No fleet could break through. We would lose everything. I am not talking about a fleet. Taewoo pulled up a diagram on the screen. It showed a small ship, no bigger than a shuttle. The Marek ignore debris. Their sensors are designed to detect life signs, not dead metal. If we take a ship, strip out all life support, and fill it with explosives, we can drift right into their heart. A suicide mission, Bella said quietly. Yes, Taewoo did not look away from her eyes. But not just any explosives. I have been working on something. A weapon that targets the neural link between the Marek Queen and her swarm. If it works, it will not just kill her. It will shatter the connection. Every Marek in the galaxy will suddenly be alone, cut off from the hive mind. They will not know how to fight. They will not know how to think. Your fleets can destroy them easily. Ryan leaned forward. You said if it works. What is the chance of success? Maybe 30%. Maybe less. The science is uncertain. And who would pilot this ship? Taewoo was silent for a moment. Then he spoke the words everyone already knew. I will. Queen Vila rose from her seat. Her silver eyes blazed with emotion. No, I forbid it. You are too valuable. I am one human, Taewoo said. One life. If I succeed, your empire survives. Your children grow up in peace. Your people rebuild. That is worth more than I am. You have given us everything. We cannot ask you to give your life too. Taewoo smiled. It was a gentle smile, the smile of a man who had made peace with his choices. You are not asking. I am offering. This is what humans do, Vila. When we love something, we fight for it. We die for it if we must. The room was silent. Kira stood in the corner, tears streaming down her pale cheeks. Ryan's scarred face was tight with respect he could not hide. Vila walked to Taewoo. She was taller than him, but in that moment, he seemed like the larger one. She took his hand in both of hers. I have ruled for 200 cycles, she said. I have known millions of my people, but I have never known anyone like you. My people are not special, Taewoo said. We are small and weak, and we die easily. But we never stop trying. That is our gift. We fall, and we get up. We lose, and we fight again. As long as one human breathes, hope is alive. Vela clasped his hand tightly. A human gesture. The last time she would do it. Go, she whispered. And come back to us if you can. The ship launched 3 days later. Taewoo flew alone through the darkness, his small vessel disguised as wreckage. He passed through Marek patrols without being noticed. He drifted past 1 billion enemy ships that did not give him a second glance. And finally, after 7 days of silent travel, he reached the central hive dot. It was enormous. A structure the size of a small moon, pulsing with dark energy. The Marek Queen lived inside, her mind stretched across the galaxy, controlling her children with thoughts of hunger and conquest. Taewoo activated the weapon. The explosion was silent in the vacuum of space, but its light stretched across 3 star systems. The central hive cracked open like an egg. The neural link shattered into 1 trillion pieces, and across the galaxy, every Marek suddenly stopped. In the middle of battles, they froze. In the depths of space, they drifted. The hunger that had driven them for 1 million cycles vanished, replaced by nothing. They were alone, truly alone, and they did not know what to do. The Ilori fleet attacked without mercy. Ships that had fought desperately for survival now hunted with joy. In 3 weeks, the Marek were broken. In 3 months, they were scattered. In 1 year, they were a memory. But Queen Vela did not celebrate. She ordered search teams to comb the debris field around the central hive. For 19 days, they found nothing but dust and metal. Hope faded, Kira stopped eating. Ryan grew silent and cold. On the 20th day, a scanner found a signal dot in his escape pod, tiny and cracked, drifting in the darkness. Inside, barely alive, frozen but breathing, was Hante-Wu Dot. He woke in a hospital bed. Kira was beside him, holding his hand. Queen Vela stood at the door, her silver eyes bright with tears she refused to let fall. "You are impossible," she said. Tae-Woo grinned through cracked lips. "I am human. We do not know any other way." Years later, statues of Han Tae-Woo stood on 7 planets. Songs were sung about him. Children learned his name in school. But Tae-Woo himself refused to live in palaces or accept titles. He built a small house on the northern hills, near the temple where Kira had first found him. He planted a garden. He learned to cook Alori food. He taught young students how to think, how to plan, how to never give up. And sometimes, when the stars were bright and the night was quiet, Queen Vela would visit. They would sit together in silence, looking up at the galaxy they had saved. 2 creatures from different worlds, bound by war and hope and something that might have been love. Do you ever regret it? Vela asked one night, "Staying here instead of finding your way home?" Tae-Woo thought for a long time. "Earth is where I was born," he said finally. "But this is where I belong. Home is not a place. It is the people you would die for. And I found that here." Vela took his hand. A human gesture. They watched the stars together until dawn.